Have you looked at the screen?
Chair, so far, you're the only one, Chair.
Peter, I can see Peter Daniels as well as the and Willem van Rensburg. They were part of the delegation, isn't it?
That's correct, Chair. Good evening, Chair.
Yes, good evening. So, okay, so I'm sure you are done now with the oversight visit.
Yeah, we just arrived about 5 minutes ago, Chair. We arrived at the hotel, Chair.
You've just arrived at the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just want to check if the colleagues are now in a position to log in. If you have arrived 5 minutes ago, I think they are in a position to log in. They have requested that we start the meeting an hour late because due to the oversight visit overlapping, going beyond the 6 o'clock. So let me apologize. Let me apologize to all colleagues that we had to, delay starting the meeting by an hour so that we allow the colleagues to finish the oversight visit and then join the meeting. I was not part of the visit myself. So it is in that context that I was able to log in much earlier. I noticed that the Deputy Minister is on the platform. Good afternoon, good evening, Deputy Minister. Good evening, Deputy Minister. All right. May I invite you to flight? Nandipa, may I invite you to flight the agenda for tonight? Thank you. I don't see I can see the agenda, but not all the items. All right. Okay. We have 6 items on the agenda. That includes the preliminaries as well as the last item, closure. So essentially, we have, in the main, we have 3 items if we exclude those. And so the 3 items is item number 3, item number 4, and item number 5. That is besides item number 1, which is apologies and welcome, and item number 2, which is apologies, and the last item, item number 6, which is closure. So I'm not going to waste too much time because we started late. I will start with the apologies. Nandipa, do you have, can you record the apologies, please?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening to the members. We've got an apology from the Minister who is attending the Presidential Task Team meeting. And then from the committee side, we've got an apology from Mr. Nchabeleng, the co-chairperson. He has a bereavement. He said he lost his wife. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, indeed. We received the news of the passing of his wife, and this committee conveyed. I'm not too sure if this one or is the portfolio committee. I think it's the portfolio committee on conveyed its condolences to the co-chair and other members of the female. All right. So those are the two apologies, and so there are no apologies on the side of the members. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Chair. Sorry, Chair, I also received the message that the Deputy Minister also tendered an apology, but I see that he logged in. So I don't know.
So I did try to check if it is, I think it's his gadget. I'm not too sure if he's already in the meeting, but I will, as we move along. Is that you, Deputy Minister?
Honorable Chair and honorable members, indeed, it is me. I did hear the Chair call me in to confirm that I'm in the room. It says that I was on something else. My apology, Chair, is withdrawn. I've just arrived back from the meeting of the Binational Commission between Botswana and South Africa, where I was asked to do duty by the Minister today. But we just concluded business for the day now, so I'm available. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, DM, and you are welcome, sir. As I said, we have three items in the main. It's a presentation. There's a feedback on the. I don't see the agenda. Nandi, have you drawn it? Yeah, it's the feedback on the investigation into a food-related challenge in Mozambique. And just a brief background to this item is that we received news via media that our members deployed in Mozambique forwarded a complaint, and they were hoping that someone from the top structure of the SNDF would look into the matter and try to resolve the issue and all other challenges that they were facing. And I'm actually paraphrasing the letter that they sent. And they are saying that they ended up eating rotten meat and vegetables, and almost every soldier was getting diarrhea. The letter, the complaint continues. When we raised the issue the officials said that we are not cleaning our eating utensils. A lot of rotten meat had to be burned because the facility is not suitable to be used as a storage facility. So, in a sense, this was the complaint that we took it up and asked the minister to conduct and to ask the military ombuds, or to instruct the military ombuds to inquire into this complaint, because we thought that it was too serious to leave it unattended to. And we did that because we are accountable to their parents and the nation at large, because they're deployed outside the country, and the deployment is with support of Parliament. Is the deployment by the President with support of Parliament. So here we represent Parliament, and if there are any issues and troubling our deployed soldiers, especially in foreign countries, we consider it serious enough to meet and look into it. It is in that context that we asked the minister to instruct the military ombuds to conduct an investigation into the matter. Today, we're going to receive the outcome of that presentation. The next item is the consideration of is the presentation of the letters of the President on 2 letters, because they concern to the extension of employment of the SNTF members, one in Mozambique and the other in the Mozambican channel. So we'll deal with those 2 letters when we get to this item number 4. And then item number 5 will be dealing with our own minutes. Without much ado,
Chairperson, it's actually 3 letters that we have received, eh?
It's 3 letters, Mr.
Yeah, for Mistral, for Copper, and for Vakela.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So we have received all 3 of them.
All 3. Okay. No, it's fine. Thank you very much for that correction. And I'm not quite certain if we do have the CJ Ops in the meeting. And anyone from the SNTF in the meeting?
Chairperson?
Yes, the DM.
When I scrolled the listed participants in the meeting today, this evening, I did not see the department. It doesn't look like the department is here. Neither is the Secretary for Defense Office represented, nor the Chief of the Defense Force Office, nor Chief Joint Ops Office. Maybe the military ombud will be able to say something in that regard. I don't know.
Yes. Maybe, thank you very much, DM. Can you assist General Masondo? And I welcome you and the team. You'll be presenting on item number 3. General Masondo, can you assist?
Good evening, Honorable Chair.
Good evening.
I thought I was now the military ombud operating independent of the Department of Defense. I don't know how I'm required to account for activities in the Defense Force. But Chair, let me say I did speak to the Chief of the National Defense Force, who indicated to me that he's actually having a work session this week. I'm not sure if they were actually invited to the meeting. That I cannot confirm, Chair.
Okay. No, it's fine. Let's continue with the meeting. We did not ask you basically to account on the activities of the SNTF, or the department, but just to check if you are aware if your colleagues in the in the department are actually coming. and I did not get the apology we received was for yesterday that the SecDef was indisposed. And so that was for yesterday. And I've not received anything for today. And I then assumed that she's probably indisposed. And I now don't know who is going to assist. So that I know exactly how to deal with the item that requires the department to present on. That's the letters of the president. Is there anyone who can assist? I see the special advisor in the meeting. Mr. Motomo? Okay, let's deal with item number 3, as it were. And I'm afraid we may end up losing time.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Motomo?
Yeah, my apologies. I was struggling to unmute. I heard the part about the Secretary for Defense. The question that the chair was referring to about the sector being ill-disposed.
Yes, and whether do we have on the platform we don't see other members of the department other than yourself as a special advisor. We're actually wondering if you know whether they would be part of the meeting or not.
Okay, firstly on the Secretary for Defense. Secretary for Defense is still on leave until tomorrow, so they would not be available. And then Mr. Abuzi, who is acting, I will just check where he is. And then the report we presented on the item 3 was distributed and the Ombud was available. I don't know, perhaps it was the changing of the times that may have created some disorganization, but I'll give them a call just now. The military, because it was already sent.
Okay. The military ombud is in the meeting.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Yes. The team is in the meeting. Is the CJ Ops who is not in the meeting? Because the next item number 4 is the presentation on the letters of the president. And maybe they assume that we'll deal with it on our own, but it's not a problem. We can still deal with it, do that. It's not a transmatch, but protocol demands that the letters be presented. And but the DM is in the meeting. We'll simply read the letters. We'll take it up from there. And it's fine. We can handle that one that way. Because, colleagues, let's move to item number 3 and to receive the report and on the feedback on the investigation into the allegation of food poisoning. And so over to you, General Masondo, just to introduce the team that is accompanying General Masondo. I've just lost the list now. Okay, now I will introduce them later, and unless the General assists me in that respect. Over to you, General.
Yes, Chair, I'll do that. But Honorable Chair and members, let me commence by welcoming the opportunity for the office to report on the outcome of the investigation that we did in Mozambique. And before I proceed, on behalf of the office, I also want to convey our sincere condolences to the co-chairperson on the loss of his wife. Chair, in my team, I'm accompanied by the Deputy Military Ombud, Advocate Damani Mkosana, the Director Executive Support, Ms. Mazibuko, and the rest of the team is the team from the operational environment led by the Acting Chief Director Operation, Mr. Bear, and the Director Investigation, Mr. Jonas, Director Legal, Ms. Pillay, our parliamentary liaison person, Ms. Welgemoed, and of course the other members were part of the investigation team, which is Mr. Kuno and Ms. Masondo. Chair, then, having introduced the team, the presentation tonight will be made by Mr. Jonas, Director Investigation. And I must indicate, Chair, that is also his birthday today. He was supposed to have been home with the family, but because we've got this task, that's why he's still here, Chair. But he will lead us in the presentation. And after the presentation, we can then entertain a question. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And Mr. V. Jonas, over to you, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. General Masondo, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, members of the Joint Standing Committee, the Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, all protocol is observed. Good evening and thank you for the opportunity. I will go straight to the presentation because of the time. The scope will cover the following: the aim, the background, the deployment, methodology, categories of witnesses interviewed, inspection in local, summary of common cause facts, questions to be answered in respect of the allegations, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Now, the aim of the report is to brief the Joint Standing Committee on Defense regarding the outcome of the investigation into the allegation relating to rotten or spoiled food and or water served to SANDF soldiers deployed in Mozambique as part of the South African Development Community mission in Mozambique. That means, in short, SAMIM. Our background: on the 13th of December, 2021, as an office, we were assigned in terms of Section 611 to conduct and investigate allegations relating to rotten or spoiled food and or water served to SANDF soldiers deployed in Mozambique as part of the Southern African Development Community mission in Mozambique. This was in terms of the correspondence from the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans on the dated 2nd of December, 2021. The assignment follows the concerns raised by members of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense during the military ombud briefing to the committee on the 18th of November, 2021. And according to the Joint Standing Committee, these concerns were as a result of the media reports on allegations surrounding the provision and serving of rotten or spoiled food to SANDF soldiers in Mozambique. Deployment: the SADC and the government of the Republic of Mozambique entered into an agreement, hereinafter called the Status of Forces Agreement, dated the 2nd of July, 2021. The agreement spells out the status of the SADC standby force or their armed forces deployed for purposes of providing a regional response and support to the Republic of Mozambique to combat the threat of terrorism and acts of violent extremism. The above regional agreement reached by SADC was as a result of the meeting of the heads of states, of which the President of the Republic of South Africa, and as part of the SADC summit, committed to support the mission by deploying soldiers. SAMIM commenced in July 2021. This took place through the SADC summit, which included the heads of states, from Angola, Botswana, Democratic Republic of Congo, Lesotho, Malawi, Republic of South Africa, United Republic of Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. The mandate of the mission was to assist the government of the Mozambique in combating terrorism. The deployment of the SNDF to Samim was also in terms of the Joint Ops H2 Instruction number 64 of 2021, the deployment of the SADC mission in Mozambique dated 8th of July 2021. Methodology. The method utilized in conducting this investigation included in the earlier gathering of relevant information and documentation, interviews with relevant witnesses, inspection in loco, and the review of applicable legislation and policy prescripts. Evidence was obtained from witnesses regarding their involvement and personal knowledge of the matters relevant to this investigation. As part of the initiating the investigation, a notification letter dated the 14th of December was drafted and sent to the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, as well as the Chief of Joint Operations Division, to inform them of the investigation and to request interviews with relevant parties, both within the Republic of South Africa, as well as in the deployment area in Mozambique. The categories of witnesses interviewed. There are two categories of witnesses that were interviewed. The first category being those who were not present in the mission area, and the other category being witnesses who provided first-hand information regarding the alleged incident that occurred in Macomia over the period 20 to 24 October 2021. This in relation to the serving of rotten and or spoiled food and contaminated water to deployed soldiers. The evidence obtained from the first category of witnesses only related to the background regarding the establishment of the mission, as well as the established command lines in the mission area, including their duties, functions, and roles and responsibilities. Their evidence therefore cannot prove or disprove whether or not soldiers were served with rotten or spoiled food or contaminated water. Reliance therefore was placed on the evidence obtained from the soldiers in the mission area who presented personal knowledge and first-hand information regarding what actually transpired at the mission area during the period under investigation. Inspection in loco. Over the period 26 January 2022 to 4 February 2022, the investigation team from the Office of the Military Ombudsman visited Macomia base in Mozambique for the purposes of conducting an on-site inspection, as well as conducting interviews with the relevant witnesses. It was found that the base has electricity supply. However, there was no running water. Soldiers consumed bottled water that was issued to them. For other water usages, e.g. laundry, cleaning, and bathing, they rely on a water bunker which fetches water from the designated area utilized by the locals. I must indicate that firstly, they were issued with 3 liters of water, and this was later on increased to 10 liters of actually bottled water. Right, the base comprised various building structures which are used for accommodation, conference facilities, HR, sick bay, mess and storage facilities. Inspection in loco. Within the mess facility, there is a small room utilized as storage for dry rations. There were 6 570 liters of chest freezers used for meat storage, and there was no cooler storage for the fruits and other vegetables. As a result, the vegetables and fruits were placed on the kitchen floor to keep them cool. The gas stove was utilized for cooking. The standard of cleanliness in the kitchen was good. On the side of the dining hall, there was a 32-inch television set, chairs and tables, and the floor was tiled. The roof was partly covered with corrugated iron and tent material, and the standard of cleanliness in the dining hall was also good. The mobile pantry, which was alleged to be the cause of the rotten meat, was not available for inspection. It was alleged to have been taken for repairs, and next to the mess entrance and not far from the mobile pantry position, the investigators were pointed to a place where the rotten vegetables and other food items had been placed for disposal. The summary of common cause facts. Soldiers who were deployed in Pemba and forward operating base Macomia were provided with ration packs and meal allowance before the mess facility was established. In other words, these groups of people were both provided with also meal allowance. The soldiers in Pemba continued with the above arrangement of meal allowance. In other words, those that were left in Pemba. However, those that were taken to Macomia started receiving prepared food for the mess as it was operational. The rations at the forward base in Macomia were stored in a mobile pantry. And then in September 2021, the mobile pantry was intermittently malfunctioning and was in the meantime being repaired. During the period 20 to 24 October, the mobile pantry was rendered unserviceable. Rotten rations were disposed of due to it being unfit for human consumption and were replaced with fresh rations. Soldiers suffered diarrhea and some consulted the medical doctor at the base. 2 chest freezers were obtained from Pemba to replace the unserviceable mobile pantry. The soldiers at Macomia were at all times issued with bottled water. Questions to be answered in respect of the allegations. In order to determine the circumstances surrounding the provision and serving of the rotting of spoiled food to soldiers, including the provision of drinking water, the investigation determined that the following questions had to be answered in line with the applicable prescripts. Was there rotting or spoiled food at the forward operating base in Macomia, and what caused the food to rot or spoil? Was there any rotten or spoiled food, including contaminated drinking water, consumed by soldiers? Did the commanders take any action to ensure that the food does not rot or spoil, or that such food was not served to the soldiers? If spoiled or rotten food was served to the SNDF soldiers, can it be found that this was done intentionally by any soldier of the SNDF? If spoiled or rotten food was served to the SNDF soldiers, can it be found that this was done negligently by any soldier of the SANDF? Findings. At the conclusion of the investigation, the findings were made as follows. Rations, that includes meat, vegetables, and fruits, were found to be rotten at the forward operating base in Macomia over the period 20 October 2021 to 24 October 2021 as a result of the unserviceable mobile pantry. Rotten rations were declared to be unfit for human consumption and were disposed of in line with the standing operational procedure, logistic procedures after they were inspected and certified by the medical practitioner at the base. Some of the rations stored with the disposed rotten food rations were salvaged, cooked and served to and consumed by soldiers deployed at the operating base. The salvaged rations were later on also found to be rotten or spoiled. A causal link was found between the rotten meat that was consumed by the deployed soldiers and the infectious diarrhea that they contracted on or about the 25th of October 2021. However, no evidence was found to indicate that the soldiers were served with contaminated water. During the period of the incident, there was no dedicated environmental officer. It could not be found that any soldier intentionally served rotten or spoiled food to the deployed soldiers in Macomia. It was found that some of the members acted negligently by failing to ensure that all food stored in the malfunctioning mobile pantry was properly disposed of to guard against possibility of serving rotten or spoiled food to the deployed soldiers in Macomia. The findings, the investigation also found that the following actions or steps were taken by the commanders to ensure that the food does not rot or spoil. The malfunctioning mobile pantry was reported to the SA Special Forces Commando commander, who in turn activated the services of the light work troop commander and the electrician. The mobile pantry was intermittently not working, and after several attempts to repair the cooler, it was declared by the electrician to be unserviceable. The contents of the mobile pantry were inspected by the multidisciplinary team comprising of senior ranking members. Additional cold storage was issued to the forward operating base to curb a recurrence of the same incident. The forward operating base was also issued with replacement rations after the incident was reported to the Contingent Support HQ. Conclusions: the investigation established that the SANDF soldiers were served with rotten or spoiled food. The investigation could not establish that the SANDF soldiers were served with contaminated water. The investigation did not find any soldier of the SANDF intentionally served soldiers with rotten or spoiled food. The investigation found that there was negligence on the part of some of the members of the SANDF who failed to ensure that no rotten food was served to the deployed soldiers. The recommendations. The following recommendations were made to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans in terms of Section 6.8 of the Military Ombudsman Act, in line with what was found and concluded above. The Chief SANDF to ensure relevant steps are taken to address the findings of negligence in this report. Relevant steps are taken to ensure compliance with the SOP, that is Standing Operating Procedure on Logistic Procedures, so that immediate action is taken to dispose of contaminated food in the mission area. And relevant steps are taken to prevent the recurrence of a similar incident. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chunas. Honorable Chair and honorable members, that's our report on the investigation as covered by this presentation. We are now ready to answer any questions that may be posed by the honorable member. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Masondo and the team for the presentation. Very brief and straight to the point. Colleagues, the matter is on the table. The findings are very clear, and the recommendations flowing from the findings are also very clear. Colleagues, over to you. Let me just check if there are any hands on the screen, on the board. I don't see any hand. Colleagues,
Mr. Riser's in there.
Oh yes, I see Raider, Mr. Raider, send. And any other hand before I recognize Mr. Raider? Okay, so Mr. Raider, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairperson. And yes, I think welcoming the report and the investigation that was done by the Ombudsman, I think that we appreciate their work, and it enables us to do our work, of course, Chairperson. So thank you for the effort and time that got put into that. Now, just to remind everyone here, not that I need to, that in terms of the legacy constitution, which gives us our mandate, part of the mandate is that we will be competent to look after the budget functioning, the organization, the morale, and the state of preparedness of our troops. And so it gives us direct oversight over this particular matter. And I think it's quite concerning to see that clearly there's been a problem that has arisen. The stories were not made up, and there's been findings and recommendations. I think that I'd like to hear in terms of accountability what the consequences are going to be for first of all people that were found to be negligent, but I think there's issues around logistical planning, maintenance, etc. That it doesn't only vest with the people that prepared the food. And just to hear as well what preventative steps are going to be taken in future to prevent this from happening again, because realistically, I think that we've all noted in which direction the budget is going for the Defence Force. We are not looking at getting a lot more money coming in to the pot, and yet we are going to need to make sure that things are kept working. in order to ensure that our troops are supplied correctly and properly. Now, the reality is that when we're sending out our troops to the front line, they have got much greater things to worry about than the state of the food that they're being served. They are worried about staying alive and performing their duties to the country. And the fact that we are not providing them adequately, I think, is a dark stain on the state of the logistics that this government has provided. I think we as a committee also need to perhaps consider putting forward a recommendation that issues like this be taken into account when we're doing the budget review, and to ensure that there is sufficient funding put forward to make sure that on-the-ground operations are adequately catered for, because our troops can't be left to be fending for themselves when it comes to eating as well. They are out there doing us all a service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ryder. Colleagues, so this is the report we have received. It will also be of interest to this committee to also recall what the Chief of Joint Operations said when he addressed us on this issue, because this report clearly contradicts what he presented. It was in that context that we thought it would be a disservice to our members out there if we take that report and because it would not be as objective as I think we were proved right, because what we are receiving appears to be objective, non-biased, and proving that indeed the complaint was not without any substance, and at least in respect of food and vegetables and fruits. And so you are right that we now have to look into the future and the steps that the department will take to prevent this from actually happening. And then two, that some disciplinary steps be taken against those who were found to be negligent, because the report does show that the standard operating procedures were not, it's clear that were not followed to the latter. So maybe we would leave it at that for now, and, unless if there are any suggestions, but we will then await what the minister, maybe the DM, will tell us what he is going to do. Now the investigation is unearthed and unearthed the findings. What is the minister going to do about it? DM, do you have any comment in that respect, or you appeal for more time to apply your mind on the issue and then come and talk to us about the steps you are taking? Over to you, DM.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much, and to honorable members as well. Chair, let me apologize that the matter the committee is dealing with, it's a matter which, as the chair would be aware, it's a matter that is being dealt with in the minister's office. And it is the minister's forte to brief the committee about the decision or the advice the minister would want to proffer on this case. But the report, I think it's straightforward, it is clear, and it is for, of course, the minister's office to discuss the matter with the Office of the Chief of the Defense Force, General Mapanya, and agree on how this challenge should be attended to going forward. I am, Chair, unable to really offer an opinion on this matter because the report, I am also receiving it as it is being presented here. I actually came to the meeting believing that it is a report that was going to be coming from the department itself, the response of what happened. I was not even aware that it was routed by the minister's office to the military ombuds environment. And that's why at the beginning, I actually assumed that the absence of the department, it's something which could have been a result of conference between the office of the ombud and the department, that the ombud would be the one that takes the oversight committee through, the joint standing committee through this matter, and the department would possibly come in at the point when solutions and steps, corrective measures are being discussed. That's unfortunately from my side all I can say in relation to this matter, Chair and honorable members. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, DM. So we can then defer because we don't have the chief of the SNDF in the meeting, and who would respond to the findings and the recommendations as presented in the report, so that we close this matter and once and for all. And even the minister is also not in the meeting. Like you say, DM, that you can't say much because you are receiving the report at the same time as we are receiving it. So the minister will then, at the right time, maybe at the next meeting, and just talk to us as to her responses to the findings in terms of what corrective measures will be taken to ensure that such happenings don't happen in future, and that those found negligent caught to account. All right, colleagues, can we leave it at that for now? Dr. Masobu.
Chair, thank you very much, Chair and colleagues. Indeed, I don't have any problem with your ruling, but I think we need to try to put our house into order, Chair, because the area that I'm not clear about, how was this brought to our attention whilst the minister is still busy with it? Then secondly, the worst part of it, the deputy minister is saying he has no idea of the report. You know, Chair, some of the things need to be corrected. Why is it like that? So that tomorrow we don't experience the same thing. I don't have any problem with your ruling, but at least these smaller things must be corrected. How was it brought to our attention? Again, why the deputy minister is not aware, but the report is in front of us as a committee.
Okay, no, thanks. Maybe the military ombuds can come in just to assure us that the report was shared with the minister, And in other words, the minister was aware that the report was going to be presented today. And over to you, General Masondo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. First, I need to indicate that we were given a period of 30 days in which to finalize our investigation. And as an office, we were able to comply with that time. And after we completed the report, we sent it to the office of the minister, and we confirmed that they actually received it and were given that assurance. Even now, before coming to present, we also then sent a copy of the presentation to the office of the minister, just to ensure that the minister is aware of what is covered in the presentation itself. Because I need to emphasize, Chair and honorable members, that this is an investigation that was done in terms of Section 611 of our Act, where the minister can actually give us tasks which are not inconsistent with our Act. And therefore, as far as we're concerned, we have done our work, we have investigated and submitted the report to the minister. It is up to the minister how she then deals further with the report, Chair.
Thank you so much. And the minister was aware that the item is on the agenda because, like I said, our agenda is approved weeks so that we allow the department to prepare, for the items on the agenda. All right, colleagues, we'll leave it at that for now, unless if there's another point. Is this the legacy and Mr. Ryder?
No, Chair, just a comment to say that, yes, accepting your ruling, absolutely. But if we can insist, please, at the very next meeting that this matter gets taken up directly with the minister and that the minister be warned that it will be on the agenda for the next meeting. We can get a full and proper response from the minister as well as the Chief of Defence. Thank you.
Okay. No, it's fine. So are you done, Mr. Ryder? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's fine. We'll put it back on the agenda just to receive the responses from the minister. For next week, please make a provision for it, Nandipa. All right, colleagues, we can then move to the next item, is the presentation of the letters of the president. Mr. Murray was correct that there are 3 letters that should come under consideration today. Is a letter dated the 3rd of April. It's the extension of employment of members of the SNDF for service in fulfillment of an international obligation of the Republic of South Africa towards SADC, the Southern African Development Community. And then the second letter is dated the 5th of April.
Sorry for indulgence. Can you maybe just read, I think the one that you're referring to is the one for the maritime patrols, because both will be for SADC, but it will be for different purposes. The one is for copper and other one is for Vikele. So Vikela. So maybe you must just read that further on as well in terms of the letters.
No, you're right. It's SADC maritime security. That's the first. Is dated the 3rd of April. And then the second one is the extension of employment of members of the South African National Defence Force for service in fulfillment of an international obligation of the Republic of South Africa towards the United Nations Organization's Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's that's MONUSCO in short, and then the third one is the extension. This one is dated the 14th. Is the extension of employment of members of the SNDF for service and fulfillment of an international obligation of the Republic of South Africa towards Southern Development Community. And this is in relation to the deployment in Mozambique. So those are the three letters. And I think I should indicate that we are done with item number 3. And then the military ombuds and the team, thank you very much. And they are free to leave at any time when they want to. All right.
Much,
thank you so much, General and the team. All right. And colleagues, DM, would you want to make a comment before we consider each letter in turn?
No, at this point, no comment from my side, Honorable Chair. Really, in relation to this item, comments that may further assist the oversight, the Joint Standing Committee on Defense would be comments from the Minister's Office and the Secretary for Defense. That is the generator of this letter, these deployment letters. From my side, Chair, thank you very much for the privilege, but no comment from my side.
Thank you very much, DM. Now that is accepted, DM. Can we then look at each letter in turn, colleagues? Let's start with the letter of the 3rd of April. And it's deployment on the maritime security. It's 200 members of the SNDF. The extension is for the period 1st April 2022 to 31st March 2023. The expenditure expected to be incurred, it's 154 million, and that is the first letter. And then the second letter, colleagues, it's deployment towards MONUSCO. It's 241 members of the SNDF are deployed.
Additional members, additional, that's 241 additional.
You are right, Mr. Mare. Additional 241 members of the SNDF. And this brings the total of members of the SNDF deployed for MONUSCO mission to 1,198. And the employment is for the period 1st April 2022 to 31st March 2023. The expenditure expected to be incurred, it's 1 billion rand, 1004 241 271. So that's the second letter. And then the third letter, it's deployment towards the SN SADC mission in Mozambique. The extension, it's 1,495 members of the SNDF who were deployed to support the Republic of Mozambique to combat acts of terrorism and violent extremists affecting the northern areas of Mozambique. The extension is for the period 16 April 2022 to 15 April 2023. And the amount, the expenditure expected to be incurred for this period is 2.8 billion rand. Yes, so these are the three letters, and all of which were received within the time. I think within 7 or 14 days or so. All right, colleagues, may I invite your comment on the three letters as presented today or tonight?
Chairperson, my hand is up.
Yes, Mr. Murray.
Thank you very much. If I can just respond to the three different letters, I think all of them are within the reasonable time, so there's no problem with the time that we've received this letter. But all three of them, so somehow it seems like the president got the message, which is a good one. Operation Copper for the 200 is a standard one that we've had for many, many years. And we know that that is normally for a certain amount of hours at sea, which was limited, which is restricted in the past due to the availability of vessels. But I think that is a standard one. It's coming on for many years, so we can't have any problems with that. With Operation Mistral in the DRC, it is also a standard one, and we know that the UN has given indications of a phasing out of that. And I think the amount was reduced in the past. It is not clear why there was an increase in numbers at this stage. What the reason for that is, my concern is we know that we are not refunded based on the number of soldiers that we deploy, but on the serviceability of our equipment. So I think we need some more indications of expected refunds and why that is necessary. Even if that's in a closed session, doesn't matter, because there's an increase in commitments. And then Vikela, I just want to say that Mistral worked out on, if you take the number of soldiers, it worked out on 8,381 per soldier. Now, if you look at Vikela is the same number 1595 that was authorized or employed in the past, although we know that only a third of that or less has been deployed in the past. Now it's for 12 months. The notice period is correct, but it is at close to 3 billion rand that we know is not in the budget. Now, I know that yesterday at the meeting, you also said that I must raise it tonight, because we know that there is not anything in the current budget for this. And it means that we will have to take it up also from our side when we meet with National Treasury in terms of this, that they must realize this is an additional commitment, money that we actually don't have. You will recall what Wilhelm has also reported to us, that a cost of employees is expected to be overspent by close to 3 billion rand as well. So only between the two of them, it will be close to between 5.5 and 6 billion rand that we haven't provided for in the current budget. So the notice period is correct. We hope, and I think this is something that we want the chief of the SNDF, maybe the chief of JOPS and the minister, give us a feedback with regards to the funding of this. We know that up till now we have not received any funding. We know that the previous minister and the current minister has said that SADC must pay the bill. I've read in a number of reports about discussions that is going on between SADC and the European Union and even the United States. the African Union for funding from the from some European fund for African security. So I think it's just important for us, given the dilemma that we are sit with in terms of the budget situation, that they just brief us at a sooner than later time on those challenges, because that will exacerbate our problems. And I mean, you will receive your report after today's meeting with also Denel. Now, if they proceed with what they think can happen, it means that a lot of additional funding, because they are also talking to National Treasury apparently, and that means that the adjustment budget will have to be enormous additional funding if we must provide for all these requirements. So I think that is just my input that I want to level and request at this stage. Otherwise, we know our soldiers are there, so there's nothing new. The principle of being involved in SADC force for peacekeeping missions and bringing stability is no problem. The only concern is how are we going to fund, and whether we do everything and provide all the resources to keep our soldiers as safe as possible for them not to return in body bags. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Mare. I've noted those issues. Mr. Mutle, Honorable Mutle.
Yeah, thanks and good evening, Chair. Mine was just to say, let's note these letters taking into consideration also Honorable Mares, but I think it will be a discussion for another day because the department is not here to respond to some of the matters that are raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mutle. Colleagues, any other comment?
Chair, just with your indulgence, I've mentioned the cost per person for Operation Mistral will be 8,381. The cost in Vakela per person will be 18,729. So that's a vast increase of cost per person, per soldier that we deploy. And that just proves my point of concern. Thank you.
Yes, no, that is noted, Mr. Mare. You also raised two other points. One is the expected refund from the United Nations in respect of MONUSCO. And then three, the fact that the money is not in the budget as we speak, but the expenditure takes effect immediately. How is the department going to manage given the situation of budget cuts in the department? So they need to assure us that they have funds that will actually take them right up until the budget is adjusted in September or October. And then Mr. Mote says, we just note this because the department is not in the meeting to deal with the issues, some of which we have spoken about, you've raised, Mr. Mare. All right. Is there no objection that we move to the next item on the note that these issues, the good thing would be dealing with the budget as from next week. So will be taken up during the discussion on the budget. The problem is that the colleagues from the NSOP and don't sit on the finance when we deal with the budget. They will be at the disadvantage insofar as that is concerned. It means that at some point we'd have to bring it up at the Joint Standing Committee at this meeting, so that they are also on par as to where we are leaving the issues off. All right, colleagues, can you move on that note? Okay. All right. There's no objection to us moving to the next item. DM, any comment at this stage? You are happy that we move to the next item?
Chairperson, I can confirm that the issues the committee is raising around the commitments internationally of our troops that are contained in this letters are matters that were discussed by the COD. Resident, I think it was at the last COD. They've been flagged for a more deeper assessment of the obligations that are imposed on us by these deployments along the lines that some of the honorable members have commented. And I would imagine that the minister would be able to share with the committee that discussion once it has been concluded. And I must say that it was also in the context of the pressures for us to have a more consolidated framework of the work of our Defense Department in the absence of an updated defense review. It is something which the minister would be able to share with the Joint Standing Committee on Defense at the appropriate time. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, DM. So, DM, the takeaway from the meeting is that the extension of the employment of soldiers and the deployment of additional soldiers is supported by the committee, save, of course, that there are concerns related to the budget. That will be the takeaway for you, Minister DM. But those concerns will be addressed during the budget meeting. Is that fine, DM, if I conclude it that way?
You are spot on, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, DM. And DM, we have concluded the matters. We'll now move to the item where we consider the minutes. And you will be free to leave at any time when you wish to. Thank you very much for standing in. I know that you were not ready. You had tendered your apologies, but when your meeting ended, before we started this meeting, you decided to honor, to withdraw your apology and then attend in person. Thank you very much for that gesture, DM.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Good. All right, colleagues, let's go through the minutes. You will indicate how many sets of minutes, Nandipa?
Chair, I think that Deepa has a connectivity problem, so I'll be sharing. It's only one set, Chair.
Oh, it's only one set of, okay. All right, colleagues, you seem to be doing well. And this is the meeting is the minutes of the meeting of the 17th of March. We're dealing with the briefing by the parliamentary legal services on the letter from the president, and briefing by the military ombuds on progress with challenges facing the institution, etc. And a briefing by the Defense Force Service Council and the Minister on the outcomes of the retreat on the implementation of the Defense Force Service Council recommendations. And then we consider the minutes, and this was the attendance. I hope the attendance was captured correctly, colleagues. All right, that's the attendance. All right, go down. All right, go down right to the end of the attendance. Thank you very much. And then we could continue. It was open and welcome. And apologies and the briefing. All right, the briefing starts from item 3. There was discussion. Could continue. Continue. And then we move to item 4 by the military ombuds. There's a briefing by the military ombuds. And then the briefing, item 5, the briefing by the DFSC and the minister. All right, colleagues, right up to the end. And the remarks by the minister. And the responses. And then the end of the meeting. Go to the end. All right, we consider the minute. We adopted the program of the committee and considered and adopted the minutes, and the resolutions and undertakings were made. So we adjourned the meeting. Colleagues, so this then represents the, do these minutes reflect the, is it the true reflection of what was discussed in the past? Are there any corrections first? Doesn't look like there are any corrections. Can we move them for adoption? And
I shall move.
Mr. Mario moves.
I second, Honorable Chairperson.
Ms. Bartlett, second. Thank you very much. So the minutes are adopted as the true reflection of what transpired in the meeting of the 7th of March. Colleagues, I think we are now at the end. Have we concluded the agenda items, Peter? I think we have.
Yes, Chair, you're correct.
Thank you very much. It's 1 hour, 15 minutes. Okay. All right, colleagues, I know you must be tired today, and the mission continues tomorrow. And I know I'm missing a lot. Colleagues, thank you very much.
Are you joining us tomorrow?
No, I'm not.
Are you joining us tomorrow?
No, unfortunately not. I'm not.
Yeah, I see you are dressed up. Are you? Were you somewhere for an interview, or what are you doing?
I thought you were going to say dressed up at night after 8.
No, I was just wondering, because I know that it's election time, so and I just see you very tight and very smart with your tie, as if you were somewhere very important today.
Yeah, no. I just put in a tie for this meeting. Colleagues, thank you very much for attending, and I wish you well on your oversight tomorrow. Thank
you very much. It was a wonderful day today. Thank you
so much. Yes, I will receive the briefing.